Now, let us see what happened to Coleridge. Coleridge, what was his experience as a poet? In 1795, under pressure from Saudi, Coleridge hesitantly married Sarah Fricker, the sister of Saudi's wife Edith. Their first son, Hartley, was born the following year. Shortly afterward, succumbing to the pressure of conventional family obligations, Coleridge and Saudi abandoned the Pentisocracy experiment. The same year, Coleridge met William Wordsworth, and the two spent much time discussing poetry, politics, and philosophy. This rich personal and intellectual association bore significant fruit as the two decided to collaborate on a volume of poems intended to revolutionize the practice of contemporary poetry called lyrical ballads, and it was first published as a single volume in 1798. And he has written poems which were natural, and as we know, romantic poets are more close to nature and they worship nature. So is true in case of Coleridge. But as we look that, as we can see that Coleridge first published his volume of poetry, poems on various subjects, and began his first of 10 issues of a liberal political publication entitled The Watchman. And he has some conversational poems such as the Aeolian harp and this line, the tree bower my prison, and he used his intimate friends and their experiences as subjects in those poems. Now, the lyrical ballads, which was first published in 1798, greatly expanded and published in 2 volumes, with a now famous preface written by Wordsworth in 1800. Coleridge's powerful representation of psychological obsession and remorse, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, was the poem chosen to open the lyrical ballads. And in 98, from 1798 to 1797 to 1798, he lived near Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy. So they lived close to each other. And as they collaborated this, the Coleridge's first famous poem, first great work of the Romantic school of poetry, contains the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and it became the opening poem of the lyrical ballads. Supported by a £150 annuity from Josiah and Thomas Wedgwood, Coleridge was freed from the need to support himself finally, and commencing in September 1798, he joined the Wordsworths for a long tour of Germany. There he became quickly fluent in the language and acquainted himself with many developments in German philosophy and scholarship that were as yet little known in England. When he returned to England in July of 1799, Coleridge fell in love with Sarah Hutchinson, the sister of Wordsworth's future wife. The domestic trouble this occasioned is evident in the despondent tone of Dejection and Ode. Dejection and Ode is a poem by Coleridge, which was published in 1802. This doomed romantic attachment and Coleridge's failing health, doubtless exacerbated by his increasing dependence on laudanum, an elixir of opium, led him to accept a post in the warmer climate of Malta, as secretary to the acting governor from 1804 to 1806, after which he travelled through Italy. His health, however, did not improve, nor did his peace of mind. On his return, he separated from his wife and lived with the Wordsworths, leaving Edith and Robert Southey to care for his family and generally dividing his time between London and the Wordsworths' house in Grasmere. This is a period of professional uncertainty for Coleridge, split between giving public lectures on literature and from June 1809 to March 1810 attempting to cultivate a larger audience through a periodical he called Friend. In 1810, after permanently settling in London, Coleridge became estranged from Wordsworth, who disapproved of the irresponsible way in which he handled his family obligations. In his first years in London, Coleridge suffered from chronic illness, and from his dependence on opium to ameliorate it, he remained highly active, however, as a literary figure, delivering a well-attended course of lectures on Shakespeare and seeing to the production of a successful drama of his own, Remorse, the drama Remorse in 1813, a revision of a drama called Osorio he had written years before in the later 1790s. Not long after this, Coleridge experienced a religious conversion. His reading of the 17th century Anglican divine, Robert Leighton, led him to abandon the Unitarianism he had practiced and to embrace instead the Church of England and its orthodoxies. Beginning in 1815, Coleridge sought to consolidate his literary reputation, although he continued to involve himself in essentially minor original projects, such as his play Zapolya, which appeared in 1817. Coleridge's major endeavor at this time was to restore his reputation as a significant poet of the age. This he accomplished through publishing two successive volumes of verse, Christabel Kubla Khan, A Vision, The Pains of Sleep in 1816, and Sibylline Leaves, a collection of poems in 1817. Meanwhile, the biographical preface he had contemplated for the later volume so grew under his retrospective thinking that it eventuated in a lengthy two-volume project, his most influential work in prose, that he called Biographia Literaria, which was published in tandem with Sibylline Leaves. This work aspires to be a combination of literary criticism, autobiography, and philosophical speculation, tracing Coleridge's life through childhood, through his fascination and later disillusionment with the associationist philosophy of David Hartley, and his collaboration with Wordsworth. Among its famous parts are those passages in which he describes his notion of the imagination and critiques Wordsworth's poetry and with analytical equity. From this point on, however, Coleridge's productions fell off. In 1824, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, which entitled him to an annuity of £105. Another work of criticism, Aids to Reflection, appeared in 1825. His last prose work is on the Constitution of the Church and State, ostensibly a contribution to the debate over Catholic emancipation, appeared in 1830, a year after the law was enacted. A third edition of his Poetical Works is the title of his work, appeared in 1834, shortly before his death on 25th July. So, and the book Biographia Literaria, if we go on to look, uh, as has been said, that it also includes literary criticism, autobiography, and philosophical speculation, tracing the experiences of Coleridge from his early life. Now, his poems, Kubla Khan and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, are considered to be are considered to be some of the greatest poems of English literature, and mostly his reputation is reputed for his uh, work Biographia Literaria. That is what uh, established his fame and popularity and fame as a romantic poet. And Biographia Literaria is also considered to be a work of criticism, which of high uh, quality. So this is what the explanation is. And in Coleridge's view, the essential element of literature was a union of emotion and thought that is described as imagination. The power of imagination was considered very highly by the Romantic poets, and so Coleridge also did the same thing. And he stressed on poetry's capacity for integrating the universal and the particular, the objective and the subjective, the generic and the individual. The mostly it is found that during the Romantic period, the the poets believed in the power capacity of poetry to uh, attract the people and educate the people more. And the function of criticism for Coleridge was to discern these elements and to lift them into the conscious awareness rather than merely to prescribe or to describe rules or forms. Poetry, according to Coleridge, could influence the people more, and in criticism also, he tried to follow the same rule instead of the rules like rules that are strict. This is our